Toda la gente les pido tomar sus lugares, por favor. Con el permiso de los rabinos, dirigentes comunitarios y todos nuestros amigos y amigas presentes, buenas noches. Antes que nada, en nombre de la comunidad Ashkenazí de México y nuestro centro comunitario Ramat Shalom, quiero dar la más cordial bienvenida a Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, a su esposa Lady Rabbi Sacks y a Joanna Benarosh, Chief of Staff del Rabino. Deseándoles una exitosa visita en nuestra comunidad. Asimismo, les damos a todos ustedes la más cordial bienvenida a este magno evento. En esta ocasión tenemos el honor y el privilegio de ser la primera sede del ciclo de conferencias intercomunitarias que serán impartidas por el afamado rabino Lord Jonathan Sacks, quien es una de las voces más escuchadas dentro del judaísmo contemporáneo, líder religioso, filósofo y una voz moral respetada en todo el mundo. Dentro de su excelente trayectoria, fungió como rabino principal del Reino Unido de 1991 a 2013 y es considerado uno de los pensadores más importantes y prolíficos del mundo judío moderno. En julio del 2009 recibe de parte de la reina Isabel II el título de Lord del Reino Unido. Es autor de 30 publicaciones de temas judíos, morales, humanistas y editor de 3 obras más. Es acreedor a 16 premios de literatura y teología, tanto en Israel como en Estados Unidos, incluyendo el premio Templeton en 2016. Asimismo, es también acreedor a 17 doctorados honorarios en varias universidades en Europa, Israel y Estados Unidos. De 1989 a la fecha, ha sido conferencista habitual, habiendo impartido más de 70 conferencias en diversos foros y universidades internacionales de diversos temas relacionados con el judaísmo y el humanismo. Actualmente tiene una activa vida pública y es profesor de pensamiento judío, así como de leyes, ética y Biblia en varias universidades. En fin, su contribución al pensamiento judío moderno es enorme y sería muy difícil describirlo en este momento, por lo que prefiero darle la palabra al rabino Lord Jonathan Sacks. Rabbi, please.
Thank you so much. Compliments sound so much better in Spanish. And thank you, the Jewish community of Mexico City, for being such an incredible community. You really are one of the world's great Jewish communities. You have terrific schools, magnificent synagogues, including this wonderful shul of
I have to tell you, I have to come my 10,000 steps from my feet. So I'm enjoying it. Thank you. Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, without doubt, Moses was the greatest lawgiver the world has ever known. And yesterday, in the Knesset, the Vice President of America, Mike Pence, spoke movingly of how the Jewish story, that journey to freedom, has inspired Americans to create what Abraham Lincoln called a new birth of freedom. We have inspired the world. I'm not sure if we've inspired us, but we inspired the world. And it's an amazing thing. What was it about Judaism that made it so inspirational? And then think about this. Who was the most influential man who ever lived? Without the slightest doubt, it was Avraham Avinu, it was Abraham. Because today, there are how many people who claim him as their spiritual ancestor? 2.4 billion Christians, 1.6 billion Muslims, and a few of us, most of whom are here tonight. And that's more than half the population of the world. And this is a man who performed no miracles, ruled no empire, commanded no army, delivered no prophecies, and yet he changed the world by the way he lived. And we are his heirs. Or consider this. In the case of Christianity and Islam, there is no doubt who is the central figure in those faiths. There's only one candidate in each case. But who is the central figure in the Jewish story? Avram, who began it all. Yaakov, Israel, whose name we bear. Moshe Rabbeinu, who gave us the Torah. King David, who was not only our greatest king, but the greatest religious poet who ever lived. Isaiah, who wrote the greatest prophecies of hope the world has ever known. When Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech in Washington, at the climax, who does he quote? Isaiah, chapter 40 from the Haftarah of Shabbat Lachamu, 2 verses, word by word. Isaiah inspired every person who ever dreamt of freedom. Sigmund Freud, who didn't always like Yiddishkeit all that much, nonetheless said, it is a remarkable thing that Judaism produced generation after generation of extraordinary figures, of poets and philosophers and prophets and mystics and lawyers, and it is an extraordinary, extraordinary story. Or consider this. What about the ideas that Judaism gave the world? The idea, for the first time, nobody ever dreamt of this before, that every human being, regardless of color or culture or creed or class, is in the image and likeness of itself with the womb of God himself. Or that right takes precedence over might. Or that passion for justice that made Albert Einstein thank his lucky stars that he was born a Jew. Or Isaiah and Micah, the first people in history to see peace as an ideal. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, etc. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. But you know, at least Isaiah saw that 28 centuries ago. Whoever thought of creation being the work of a single creative design, whoever thought that history had meaning, whoever thought that a single life is like the universe, these are ideas we gave the world. Or take the modern age. In 1756, Voltaire, the great defender of liberty, wrote one of the most anti-Semitic pieces ever, in which he said Jews have not contributed a single original idea to civilization. Now you provoked it, and we take our revenge, okay? So within the next 200 years, we produced most of the makers of the modern mind. In physics, Einstein; in sociology, Durkheim; in anthropology, Levi-Strauss; in philosophy, Bergson, Wittgenstein, Isaiah Berlin; in music, what do you like in music? Everything from Mahler and Schoenberg to Gershwin and Irving Berlin, to the 3 greatest poets in pop music, the late Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, the only musician who ever won a Nobel Prize for Literature, and Paul Simon, and I'm sure I've left out half a dozen others. You name it. Jews created Hollywood. We had a lot of anniversaries last year. You remember? 120th anniversary of the First Zionist Congress, 100th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration, 70th anniversary of the United Nations vote, 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War and the reunification of Jerusalem. People left out one anniversary, the 90th anniversary of the first talking movement. That had to be made by Jews, right? Can you imagine Jews being silent for anything but silent movement? It's the least Jewish thing you can ever imagine. So, and what was the first talking movement? The jazz singer, 1927. I watched that movie again I'd never seen it. Do you know what it's about? It's about a husband whose parents gave a whole family the history of chazonim. And their son wants to be a husband, and the son wants to be a jazz singer. And the son sings around various clubs, not very successful. Finally gets his lucky break. And there's a big opening, and he's starring in a Broadway musical. Only trouble is, it opens on Kol Nidre. And then his father takes ill. His father's about to daven for the children, and his father's ill. And there's only one person who can take his place, the son, and the son has to decide, will I daven Kol Nidre, or will I open in Broadway? And he decides he's going to daven the Kol Nidre, and the film ends with him singing, Al Johnson singing the entire Kol Nidre. That was the first sound people heard. Kol Nidre. I think anyone could make anything like that today. It's amazing. Jews made Hollywood. Jews created psychoanalysis. Everyone, Freud, Adler, Melanie Klein, whoever, Anna Freud, all the psychoanalysts except Jung were Jewish. Though, as I always say, if you're not Jewish, who needs a psychoanalyst? The great psychotherapists of the modern age have all been Jews. Viktor Frankl, who created logotherapy, Man's Search for Meaning. The wonderful man, Elaine and Joanna and I had the privilege of meeting just a few days ago, now aged 96, Aaron Beck, co-creator of cognitive behavioral therapy, and Martin Seligman, who created positive psychology, because all Jews know depression. Simon Garfunkel used to say, hello darkness, my old friend. So a Jew comes, he says, Zog L'chaim, cheer up, let's have a little simcha. That was positive psychology. It's unbelievable what we've done. 28% of Nobel Prizes in physics. 27% in medicine, 36% in economics. We are 1/5 of 1% of the population of the world. We have won well over 20% of Nobel Prizes. That's 100 to 1. What do you expect now? All the way now to Sergey Brin of Google, and my favorite Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, you know. Nice Jewish boy at Harvard, has a row with his girlfriend, goes off in a huff and creates Facebook. Facebook is celebrating its bar mitzvah this year. It is 13 years old, and it has connected 2 billion people. No one ever connected 2 billion people before. And you will see how Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg set out this year, Yom Kippur messages. They're being much more upfront now about their Jewishness. It's very beautiful. And my favorite high technology of all, you'll forgive me if you forgot this, but it's my favorite of all technologies, which is Waze. Invented by Israelis, bought by Google for Google Maps, the biggest bringer of shalom bayis since humanity was ever created. You know how many marriages broke up? Why didn't you look up directions? Why didn't you ask somebody? And that's in the modern world. And then I say, maybe the most remarkable thing of all, namely, that Jews have known Chava, many tragedies. Tragedies that might have broken any other people. But we did not only survive those tragedies. With every single one of them, we took them as a source for new creativity. So after Churban Bayit Rishon, the destruction, of the first temple and the Babylonian exile, the Jews in Babylon discovered anew the centrality of Torah in the life of the Jewish people, and Ezra and Nehemiah brought it back from Babylon to Israel. That was one of the great moments in Jewish history. The destruction of the second temple led to the entire rabbinic literature, Midrash, Mishnah, Gemara. The challenge of Christianity in the Middle Ages led to Rashi and the Bible commentaries. The challenge of Islam led to Maimonides and Jewish philosophy. The Spanish expulsion led eventually to the mystics of Tzfat, who wrote the Nefesh and Lakadodi. Anti-Semitism in the 19th century led to the Zionists. And the worst of all was Shoah. A mere 3 years after standing eyeball to eyeball with the angel of death at Auschwitz, the Jewish people collectively stood up and said, Lo amut ki ehyeh, I will not die, but I will live and Israel became the world's expert. Now everyone else who suffers this has to go to Israel for advice. They dig tunnels, Israel finds a way to they send missiles to Israel in their time dome, and now Saudi Arabia comes along and says, "Could we have Iron Dome too?" Saudi Arabia has to ask Israel for global help. This proves that God has a sense of humor. Somehow, as it says at the beginning of the book of Exodus, when the Egyptians started persecuting the Israelites, the more they afflicted them, the more they grew and the stronger they became. That is human. That is special. So these are the things that make Israel and the Jewish people so special. My favorite comment on this was by an American writer, the late Milton Himmelfarb, who said, think about it, the entire population of world Jewry is smaller than the statistical error in the Chinese census. And yet, even though every one of us knows how ordinary we are, great things happen to us and through us. So that is the story of the remarkable people. And what is it, I wonder, about Judaism that lifts us? Because I don't know if we in ourselves are special. The hardware I'm not sure about, but the software, the operating system, this is better than the latest iOS 10 or whatever it is, I have to tell you. This operating system called Torah is special. And I just want to quickly tell you what I think it is that has made us special. Number one, I'm sure some of you are teachers, some of you have kids at school. You know the fascinating thing that when teachers think the kids are great, the kids become great. It's a scientifically demonstrated phenomenon. The higher the teacher's belief in their students, the higher the students' achievement. Nobody ever gave a greater definition of humanity than the Torah in its first chapter by saying we are each. Now I said Adam with something, people say, in the image and likeness of God. Most religions have a very low view of man. We're guilty of original sin. We can't do good of our own accord. It's only Hashem who can do it. We need absolute submission to the will of God. No Jew ever submitted to anything. Hashem knew when he took his on that he was going to have a few good arguments with it. You know, nobody has set the bar high. when Moses comes before Pharaoh and says in the name of God, B'ni, B'chori, Israel, my child, my firstborn, Israel. No higher estimate has ever been given of the human heart. Today, scientists tell us we share 98% of our DNA with the chimpanzees. We're only a gene's way of creating another gene. We're an algorithm. Facebook's, and the Torah says, no, you are the image and likeness of God. God expected great things from us and helped us achieve those great things. Number two, the strength of the Jewish family. There's no doubt, if you want people to really excel, give them a warm, loving, nurturing family. Especially since every Jewish parent thinks my child is the Emisión. Whereas that famous birth announcement in the Jewish press said, announcing to Max and Myrna Goldberg the birth of a son, Dr. David Goldberg. I don't know any other religion that thinks of God not as power, but as love. The love of a parent for a child. Banim atem, Lashem Elokeichem. You are children of God, or husband and wife. Yasis alayim kalayim, imsos chatan kala. God delights in you as a bride, as a groom delights in that bride. You know, we made marriage the central metaphor, love. The central metaphor of the religious life. Many of our most holy things, Shabbat, dinner table, the Seder service, take place in the home, not in shul. The strength of Jewish families is the second reason for our incredible success. Third, I don't know what kind of buildings did the Mesopotamians live in? Ziggurats, yeah. The Egyptians built pyramids. Broad at the base, narrow at the top. These were statements in stone of what we call a hierarchical society. The broad, massive humanity at the bottom, and this one great ruler, the city king in Mesopotamia, city-states, or pharaoh in Egypt, the one who's almost a demigod. These were hierarchical societies. Narrow at the top, broad at the base. What was the Jewish symbol? A menorah. Exactly the opposite. Broad at the top, narrow at the bottom. A Jewish leader serves the people. People don't serve them. He's at the bottom, supporting everyone else. We are the first people ever to believe in a non-hierarchical society. Listen to these 4 words that are our mission statement as a people. Hashem says just before he gives the Torah to the Israelites, he says, V'atem tihiu li mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh. You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Now every nation has priests, right? Every religion has priests. Every religion has holy people. But only Judaism ever thought of Mamlechet, you're all priests. Goy Kadosh, a nation, every member of whom is holy. I once spoke together with Chief Rabbi Lau of Israel. This is the year 2000. And the great Talmudist Rabbi Sacks. We were representing Judaism at the United Nations at a conference of all the world faiths. It's a little daunting when you're surrounded by 1,000 other religious leaders. Never speak to an audience of religious people. They're the worst audience in the entire universe. They're all used to giving sermons. None of them is used to listening to sermons. So, I stood there with 1,000 religious leaders next to Rabbi Sacks, and I said, you know what?
and we're still different. He said, how? I said, look, we are the only people in the whole of this chamber wearing suits. Everyone else was wearing robes. Why? Because robes take you apart. You're different. You're a holy person. Whereas in Judaism, we're all holy persons. No? And therefore, we don't need uniforms because everyone is holy. Now, when you say everyone, but everyone is holy, then you begin to create a people in which people really give it their best. And I think that's number 5. Sorry, where am I? Up to 3. You've been listening. Amazing. What? I've been. Well, you can hear me now. Go ahead, guys. This was a bad move. You can hear me now. Seriously bad news. I was giving a lecture once, and somebody at the back said, "I can't hear him. Can you speak a little louder?" And somebody in the front said, "I can hear him. Would you like to change places with me?" Number 4, we are the people of lifelong learning. When do you have to start learning? Says Jewish law. As soon as a child can speak, you start teaching him. When can you stop learning? Yom HaMitah. The day you die, that's the last day you learn. Up in heaven, you sit with Hashem, Yeshiva, and so on. Lifelong learning. I was telling some kids this morning of this extraordinary moment. I hate remembering it. About 20 years ago, I went in for a medical checkup. I was diagnosed with a life-threatening disease in a critical stage. And almost, without hesitation, and immediately, I was just allowed time to go home and pick up some pajamas and rush straight to hospital, and they did the operation instantly. I'm just coming around from the general anesthetic, and I hear a knock on my door. I say meekly, "Come in." There at the door is an 80-year-old Jewish man with a volume of Talmud under his arm. And he's saying, "Rabbi Sacks, I heard you were here in the hospital. That's great. Let's learn tomorrow together." I'm dying. He wants to share you on. This is the Jewish thing. I remember one time, my Rav, Rabbi Rabinovich, the last 34 years in Rosh Hashanah, he was my Rav. And one day, in the summer, he took his car in for service, and I had the zechut of driving him home. It was a hot day, and we came. I love Mexico City because the traffic is almost as bad as it is in London. So we came to this very busy junction, and my car stalled. And I turned the key, and it wouldn't start. And I'm right in the middle of a very, very busy thing. My teacher looked very calm, without batting an eye, and said, "Right, let's learn some Torah together." He starts giving me a shiur in Rambam, Hilchot Shmita v'Yodel. Meanwhile, the cars are piling up. There's a great big traffic jam. Everyone's honking on their horns. My teacher's completely unconcerned. Gets to the end of his Dvar Torah and says, "Now turn the key." Turn the key, and the car started. Jews never stop learning, and that is why we never stop growing. I cannot tell you how extraordinary it was. Just under a year ago, I was in Yerushalayim, and 3 young Haredi yeshiva brokers. They're not yeshiva brokers. They're qualified experts in halakha. Asked, could they come and see me? They wanted to consult me on And I'm thinking, you know, what do these young Haredi want to consult with me? Do you know what they were doing? They were writing, these three young Haredi, the ethics code for the artificial intelligence that will drive self-driving cars. Can you imagine? That is being designed by Haredi in Yerushalayim. Why? Because, you know, when it comes to great leaps in operating systems, they can do that in Silicon Valley. But when you're trying to work out if the car is in the skid, should it go this way or should it go that way? You've been learning Gemara lifetime lessons. So you never stop learning, and that learning gets applied in ways you could never have predicted. 5. There is a wonderful psychologist called Walter Mischel, who 50 years ago did something very unusual and remarkable called the marshmallow test. Do you know about the marshmallow test? The marshmallow test is like this. He tested 4-year-old children. He puts one 4-year-old child alone in a room with a marshmallow. And he says you can eat the marshmallow, or if you wait 20 minutes without eating it, you can have 2 marshmallows. And it's fascinating watching the film with these kids wrestling, yeah? And it turned out, without he's remotely expecting this, but as he developed the studies over 20 or 30 years, it turned out that that ability at the age of 4 to wait for 20 minutes so you could get 2 marshmallows predicted your success in school, your success in university, your success in career, and your success in marriage. Unbelievable thing. It's known as the marshmallow test. The biggest thing in life is willpower, self-control. Do you know what halacha is? It is the world's greatest ongoing seminar in self-control. You're passing a restaurant, it smells delicious. It's not kosher, forget it. You had flations, you want an ice cream, wait. That's how marshmallow test. The whole of halacha is the most elaborate discipline ever made in willpower and impulse control. And it turns out, thanks to the marshmallow test, that that is the secret of success in many more things than we ever get. 6th, hear this. You remember, the first, anyone know when the Torah was first translated into another language? In Greek, in around the 2nd century BCE, 2nd or 3rd century, in the days of Ptolemy II, and the rabbis said it was a total disaster for various complicated reasons. About 70 elders, it's called the Shivim or the Septuagint, and the Gemara in the Megillah says there were certain verses that the rabbis deliberately mistranslated because they thought the Greeks wouldn't understand them if they translated them literally. And listen to one of these verses. Vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi'i malachto hasha'asa. God finished on the 7th day the work that He had created. And how did they translate this? Not as Yom Hashvi'i, but Yom HaShishi. God finished on the 6th day the work that He had created. What was it that they thought the Greeks couldn't understand? What they couldn't understand was that the rest is creative. They couldn't understand it. And in fact, if you go back to the Greek and Latin writers, you will see that most of them write that Jews keep the Sabbath because they're lazy. They couldn't work out Shabbat. Now you know that the Greeks of Athens was probably the greatest civilization in art, in philosophy, in science that the world has ever known. How long did it last? 4 centuries maximum, from Solon to the Cynics and the Epicureans. 4 centuries. Why? Because if you don't build Shabbat into your civilization, as civilization will suffer or individuals suffer. It's called burnout. Because we had Shabbat, we never burned out. And that is an enormous, incredible thing that we had. You know, how many of you know people who burned out mid-career? They were workaholics. They spent so much time working. They lost their marriages. They burned out. It was eating Shabbos. Shabbos is the world's greatest work-life balance ever invented. And I have to tell you that it still is. There was a lady who never kept Judaism who contacted me from Silicon Valley, and she said, Rabbi Sacks, I want you to know that smartphones and social media are ruining our children. They spend all their time texting their friends and WhatsApp and Instagram and Snapchat. It's ruining their concentration, their attention spans, their social skills, their eye contact. Even when we sit together around the family dinner table, they've got their phone under the table, they're texting their friends. She said, we decided we can't go on this way any longer, and we took a vote as a family to have a screen-free day. No smartphones, no tablets, no laptops. She said, you'll love what we call it. We called it Shabbos. Do you know people are reinventing Shabbos? They call it a digital detox. 3,300 years ago, Moses gave Shabbos to free us from Pharaoh. Now we have Shabbos to free us from smartphones. And it's the same thing. I have to tell you something. Many years ago, more than 20 years ago, I made a documentary for BBC television on the state of the family in Britain. Not the Jewish family, the general family. And I did something interesting. I took Britain's leading expert on childcare, a lady called Penelope Leach, who wrote all the textbooks for bringing up children. She had no Jewish friends. She's not Jewish, and she's never had any contact with Jews. And I took her into a Jewish school on a Friday morning. You know what they do in Jewish schools Friday morning? Mock Shabbat, the 5-year-old mother and father, and the 5-year-old Buddha and Zayda, and the 5-year-old gets it. She's enthralled by this. And she's talking to this 5-year-old kid and saying, what do you like about Shabbos? What don't you like about Shabbos? This 5-year-old kid said, what don't I like about Shabbos? I can't watch television. Terrible. What do you like about Shabbos? It's the only day when Daddy doesn't have to rush off. As we were leaving the school, she turned to me and said, Chief Rabbi, that Sabbath of yours is saving their parents' marriages. A year ago, almost to the day, something that was the most odd thing I ever saw. The Archbishop, you know, we have a Church of England, an Anglican communion, covers a lot of countries, the States, Africa. The second senior role in that, the top is the Archbishop of Canterbury, the second is the Archbishop of York. The Archbishop of York asked, could he spend Shabbos? Not morning, the whole of Shabbos. From Kabbalat Shabbat to Haftarah. He davened with us, he learned with us, he ate with us, he sang with us. I said to him, what are you doing this for? He said, one of the greatest gifts you Jews ever gave to us Christians was the Sabbath. And we are losing it, and you are keeping it. And so I want to come and learn from you how to bring it in. And I thought that was really remarkable. So that's number 6, Shabbos. Number 7. You know something? Sometimes, dare I say, Judaism can seem the teeniest bit, once in a while, once in 1,000 years, boring. Is that possible? The kids were asking me this in school this morning. How do you make it interesting? Davening. How do you make it interesting? Davening, day after day after day. There's a wonderful Haggadah passage. Let me say it to you. The rabbis are debating which is the most important principle in Judaism. One says, B'Tselem Elokim Aseret Ha'adam. God made us all in His image. A second one says, Va'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. A third one says, Shema Yisrael. A fourth one, called Bet Batsi, says, Es hakeres ha'echad ta'aseh b'boker, es hakeres ha'sheni ta'aseh b'narbai. In other words, Shabbos, Mincha, Ma'ariv. And the Haggadah says that Batsi is right. Why? Because every civilization in the world has high ideals. We bring them down into daily disciplines. I was asking the kids this morning, who's the best tennis player in the world? Roger Federer? Yeah. Who's the best soccer player? Lionel Messi. I said, you know what it takes to be Roger Federer or Lionel Messi? You've read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. You know the answer. 10,000 hours of deep practice, i.e., whatever in soccer is the equivalent of Shabbos and Ma'ariv. Judaism had the honesty to call serving God avodah. Avodah means hard work. And yes, Judaism is hard work. But what Federer and Messi do for sport, we do for life. We put in those 10,000 hours so that we become champions in life. And that is number 7. Number 8, we all need a satellite navigation system. A moral satellite navigation system. It says, it looks good, it looks cute, don't do it. Can you recall just how many in the last 10 years or the last weeks, leaders in business, in finance, in industry, in film, in entertainment, great figures, brilliance, who have ended their careers in shame because they thought no one will find out. Now I have to tell you, you get up and down in the morning and you believe in Hashem, He finds out. And the most important thing any of us need is that little voice inside that says, no. It's the hardest word to hear, but it's the most important one. And that is source 8, that internalized moral satellite navigation system that guides us through this uncharted territory called life and saves us from doing certain things because we know they are wrong. Number 9, the thing that keeps people going is a sense of identity. And believe you me, nobody has stronger identity than only Israel. You know, forgive me, but this is what we give every youngest child on Seder night. You know, we are handing on our story and our identity. My wife will hit me for this. She doesn't like the story. But here it is. In 2005, Her Majesty the Queen was kind enough to confer a knighthood on me. So I became a sir. And I said, I really enjoy this because it was royal confirmation of something I never doubted for one moment, that I married a lady. But I don't know if you've ever seen, have any of you ever seen the knighting ceremony at Buckingham Palace? Seen this? You know, it's done by the queen. She takes a sword, you have to kneel, and she rests the sword on her shoulder, and that's how she makes you a knight, which created a major diplomatic crisis for us. Because Jews don't move for anyone except Hashem. I mean, it's a big problem. Now, Buckingham Palace has one of the world's great schools of diplomacy. You can't throw any of them a problem they can't solve. So we sat and talked it through, and they worked it out. They actually said, don't worry, we will build you a stand. It's very much like this. And when it comes to your turn, we'll bring the stand, and you can lean on the stand, and you can lean about 30 degrees from the third wall, and it will look as if you're kneeling, but you're not actually kneeling. We have the video of this. It actually happened this way. So come on, that's how it happened. You know? But as it was happening, the Queen was a little puzzled by this, turned to Prince Philip and said, why is this night different from the other? But you and I know that's where we began as children. We began by asking the question, and our parents of which story we are a part, and that is the story of Jewish identity. And number 10, I have to tell you the last great gift, maybe the most important in a way. The Greeks had great dramatists, Aeschylus, Sophocles. They gave the world something called tragedy. It's a magnificent genre. And Shakespeare's tragedies are amongst the finest literature ever written. Judaism, that suffered so much through the centuries. What is the Hebrew word for tragedy? There isn't one. Tragedia, that's what they call it in Ivrit. We had to borrow the word. Why? I mean, we suffered as we had our why we have no word for tragedy? The short answer is because Judaism is the principled rejection of tragedy in the name of hope. Because tragedy happens in a world in which hopes can be destroyed. And we say, on the contrary, Od lo avda tikvatenu, our hope is never destroyed. And it is no accident that the state of Israel has a national anthem, Hatikva. And believe you me, I always insist when people ask me this, that we have two words. I don't know whether Spanish has the same thing, but we have two words in English that sound the same, but are completely different. One is optimism, and one is hope. And people confuse the two, but they're not the same. Why? Because optimism is the belief that things are going to get better. Hope is the belief that if we work hard enough together, we can make them better. It takes no courage, just a certain naivete to be an optimist. But sometimes it takes a great deal of courage to have hope. No Jew who knows history can be an optimist, but no Jew worthy of the name ever gave up hope. And Israel, that took a barren land and made it bloom again, that took an ancient language and made it speak again, that took a scattered, shattered people and made it live again, is a symbol of hope for the entire world. Friends, Judaism is the voice of hope in the conversation of humankind. Because Gam ki elech begetzal mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So long as we have one another and we have Hashem, we will walk without fear. And those 10 elements of Judaism are what took this tiny people and lifted it to greatness, and we are privileged to be part of it. Friends, I end with a little story.
It's an old story, but forgive me. I haven't told it for at least a week. So, Elaine and I, many years ago, went for a holiday in Eilat. Elaine and I went for a holiday many years ago in Eilat. We discovered that standards of modesty in Eilat are not entirely rabbinical. So it was a little difficult for us. And, you know, I took my glasses off for a week, bumping into everything. And we were looking for something that was vaguely rabbonish that we could do without being embarrassed. And we discovered those glass-bottom boats that you can see all those lovely fish. And we went on the boat, and we were the only people on the boat. And the captain of the boat heard us speaking and ran over with a big smile and said, "Atem Anglia?" We said, "Yes, we're from England. Why do you ask?" He said, "I just was on holiday in England." I said, "Did you like it?" He said, "England, wonderful. The people, so polite. The buildings so old, the grass so green." You know, in those days, Eilat was a little underdeveloped. And then he paused and with a big smile looked at the desert all around him and said, "Aval zeh shelanu." This is ours. Friends, there are many great nations, great civilizations, but I think there's something special about the gift of being Jewish. Aval zeh shelanu. Let us wear our identity with pride. Many, many thanks.
Bueno. Les pido no se vayan, nos den un momentito. Rabbi, please. Primero les recuerdo, tenemos la conferencia mañana en el Centro Comunitario Maguen David a las 8 de la noche, el jueves 8:30 en el Colegio Monte Sinai. El sábado tenemos aquí un Shabbatón a partir de las 9:15 de la mañana, todo con el rabino. Le pido por favor a Natán Feldman, presidente del Consejo Directivo de la Keilah, Jorge Lanson, presidente del Comité Ejecutivo de la Keilah, y Marcos Herrera, presidente de Ramat Shalom, si pueden pasar a entregarle un reconocimiento al rabino. Lady, please, could you join us, please, Johanna? ¿Quién quiere hablar? Thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todos. Esperamos hayan disfrutado del evento. Los esperamos en las siguientes conferencias, así como en el Shabbatón, aquí mismo en Ramat Shalom. Cuestión técnica, les recuerdo, tienen que recoger su coche en el lugar a donde lo dejaron, por favor, y dejar los aparatos de la traducción simultánea para recoger también sus identificaciones oficiales. ¿Quieres algo más?
Les pedimos paciencia para recibir su coche, por favor, y orden. Muchas gracias.